Okay, hi everyone. So I'm using the document camera. I decided to do that so you can see what I'm doing rather than my face because I figured you'd want to see what my hands were doing. So just in this video that I want you to look at, I'm going to do a demo of basically what's going to be expected for the technique portion of your assessment. So I have a document camera, which helps. I know you guys don't have that. I would expect you to take your phone and do a video with your phone, which is where you would start. I have your rubric here highlighted, and I'm going to go through section by section about what's important. So first here I have a star on the dress code. I have had a few emails about people who don't have their lab coats at home. Given the circumstances, as long as, yeah, I'm not going to be that worried about the dress code. Please have your hair tied back if applicable, but you don't need to worry about having your lab coat if it's not available at home. You are not going to be docked marks if you're wearing your sweatpants. I really don't mind. Just take care of yourself during this time. Again, hair tied back. In your kit that you received in the mail, you should have received some gloves. If that's not the case, please let me know. But you will be required to wear gloves. Washed hands prior to compounding. If you can get that in your video, great. If not, I'm okay with you just saying verbally, Danielle, I washed my hands. And workstation sanitized prior to compounding. Just let me know that you've grabbed a cloth and wiped down your workstation ahead of time, okay? Now, I've also had a few emails saying, hey, Danielle, I didn't get a scale or anything in my kit. That's true. I did not want to send scales out. I am kind of operating on the assumption that everyone has something that kind of looks like this, some measuring spoons or cups at home. For your assessment, I want you to use what you have. So measuring spoons or cups. I think what I'm going to do is we're going to go with a 1 teaspoon of your powder and a 1/4 cup or so of your cream, and we'll go from there. That should be enough for me to see your technique, okay? So you should have gotten a tub of Aquaphor in your kit and a powder that's been labeled as something, just so you know. I was not able to send out drug home with anybody, so all of your powders are actually just lactose powder. Okay. Whoops, sorry. Other things that we're going to be looking at, your compounds prepared one at a time. You will only have one compound to prepare. Utilized all ingredients in your master formula for intended use. So just as long as things are mixed in the same order. And product compounded within the specified time frame. So when I'm looking at your videos, they should not be more than about 30 minutes long. Okay, so we want to keep it under 30 minutes. That would be a very generous amount of time for mixing this compound, which I will show you. I'd just like to see that your workspace is kept clean and organized. So if you can have a table or a countertop in your home that you can just clear off and make sure that it's clean. Again, table or a countertop, please don't make this on your bed or on your couch. And when we're talking appropriate and conservative equipment use, I've only given you so much equipment, so you can't really use 5 different spatulas or minimize product loss. This is fairly flexible. Don't stress too much about these, and as you can see, it's a 2, and you would really have to just be leaving a lot of product on your ointment pad at the end for that to be a concern. Okay, so main things that I'm going to be looking for are you using geometric dilution? Okay, so I'll do a demo quick on what that means. Active ingredients need to be put in using geometric dilution, add directly to the base. We're going to kind of fold it over, and I will show you how to do that. And we need to reach a homogeneous mixture before we do another addition. Okay. Spatulation is the other thing that I'm going to be looking for here. Okay, so a big S motion, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute here, is really what I'm looking for. The appropriate pressure, the appropriate angle. When we're doing topicals, those are our main things, is geometric dilution, so that we don't get those pockets of medication or pockets of our compound that has no medication in it. And then that S motion is really how we're going to mix it. Okay. And then the last thing that I'm really looking for on technique is the final product. Okay, so you need to have mixed it thoroughly, no visible contaminants. So, you know, if your cat wants to jump up, tell him to go away. And that final packaging. Now, I'm not sure, using these measures, if they're going to work perfect for your ointment pot. Okay, so in this case, I just want to see that you can get it mostly in here and that you're going to get that nice pharmaceutical elegant finish, or that Dairy Queen swirl, and I'll do another demo on how to do that, okay? And those are really the main things that I'm going to be looking for on your video. So again, the main three things here: your geometric dilution, that's a big one that I'm looking for to make sure that that's done in the correct order. That spatulation, that S motion, and then your final product, okay? Okay, so that's me going through the rubric, and I'm going to do a demo of what the expectation here is for you guys, okay? So what your video of your technique should look like, okay? So either get whoever is filming it for you to film you washing your hands. Then you're going to come over to your station, wherever that is that you're going to work. You're going to wipe it down. It doesn't need to be from a top angle. I just need to be able to see what you're doing, okay? You're going to make sure that you get your gloves on. Okay. Okay, 2 gloves. Now, we didn't have enough large spatulas for everyone to get one in their kit, so if you have a small one, that's fine, and I will show you kind of what that should look like with both, okay? All right. Okay, so you're going to grab your ointment pad, make sure that it's all clear. This one looks pretty good. And we have our Aquaphor. Okay. So I'm just going to get my measurements done here. And like I said, this is my 1/4 cup from my kitchen and my 1 teaspoon for my powder. I would suggest doing about that just for consistency. That's what we're going to do, okay? I'm very confident in your measuring skills, so given the circumstances, I'm not going to assess that. You don't have to worry about getting checks. I really just want to be able to see what you're doing. So I'm going to fill this here with my Aquaphor. Okay, so I've got about a 1/4 cup of my ointment. I didn't bring home a lactose powder, so today I'm going to use icing sugar to show you. If you want to practice using different powders, go ahead. For a lot of our demos, I'm going to be using icing sugar. There I've got about my 1 teaspoon of powder. So I've got them up here on my ointment pad. Okay. So there's my measuring done for my video. And now what I want to do is I want to get this out. Okay, so I'm going to take my spatula. This would be very similar if you had it in a weigh boat or something. Like I've said in class lots, I like to use a weigh paper instead of a weigh boat to measure my creams, but we do with what we got. Okay. All right, now what I'm going to be looking for at this stage is how are you doing your geometric dilution. Okay, so as I've said before, geometric dilution is really about the volume. Okay, so we want to make sure that this powder of what would be our drug is going to be equally distributed throughout our ointment. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here and go, okay, that is about as much ointment as there is powder, and I'm going to mix those two together thoroughly before I continue on to the next step. Okay, so using your spatula just like this, we're going to start pushing them together. Okay, so we're going to scrape and kind of push. This is that S motion that I'm talking about. Okay, so when I'm holding my spatula, it's like this, where I've got my finger on one side, and when I go to mix it, it's going to kind of be at an angle, and I'm going to apply just a little bit of pressure so that I'm pushing everything together. Okay. Now when I'm talking about minimal product spread, you do have to spread your product out to mix it properly. What I would deduct marks for is if you're spreading it all over your ointment pad. That's not necessary, but you will need to spread your product out to be able to actually get it mixed properly. Please notice that after every addition, I'm kind of scraping up here again to bring it all back together. Kind of getting close to my stock pile, if you will, of my ointment over here. So I'm going to kind of pull it off to one side and keep mixing. And what I'm looking for is there's no powder left. That's what I'm watching for, that I've picked up all the powder, and you can see that there's no granules or streaks in here. This is what the rubric is talking about. Before you do your next addition, your ointment should look something like this. Okay? So I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm ready for my next addition. Okay, so this is where we're talking about that geometric dilution. I need about this much of my ointment to add in next. Okay, so it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't need to measure it out again, but just kind of eyeballing it. That amount of ointment is about the same amount of what I've just mixed. So we're going to do the same thing and just pick it up, doing that S motion with spatulation to get them mixed together. Okay. So this is what I want you to practice. This is exactly what I'm going to be looking for in your assessment video. Okay? So that geometric dilution, make sure that you take time to pause and show me, okay, this is about how much I have. That's about how much I have left. Okay? So the goal with geometric dilution is to get that last addition to be about the same. So in your video, I kind of want to see you doing that visual. See, they're about the same. And now I'm going to mix them together. And we mix them together until they are all homogeneously mixed and you don't get streaks of color or powder in there, okay? Now you'll notice as I've increased the amount that I'm working with, I've kind of had to increase my space. I also want to point out that I am using a small spatula because not everyone had a big one. Given my preference, I would probably use a bigger one, but it's very doable with a small spatula. Okay? So just back and forth here till you're happy with it. Trying to keep it contained all in one as much as you can. Okay. I am pretty happy with this ointment that I've just made. I would say that's about finished. Okay, so again, just things that I'm looking for, that geometric dilution and just that S motion back and forth to mix the two things together. All right, now our last step is going to be packaging. Now, I don't think all of this is going to fit in here. And if we were in lab, I would expect you to go, and in lab we would have measured it with a scale, so we'd know how much was in here. For your assessment, I just want you to fill an ointment pot. It might not be the full amount that you made, but I'm okay with that. Given the circumstances, you're at home and we're doing the best we can. The things that I really need to see for the assessment are the geometric dilution and that S motion, okay? And I just kind of want to get an idea of how you would fill it, okay? So I want you to take your ointment pot. It's empty, it's clean. If we were in lab, we would put this on our scale and zero it out or tare it so that we could measure the cream in here and do our % yield. You don't have a scale at home, and I'm not that worried about it for your assessment. Just wanted to say, you know, ideal circumstances, that's what we would do. When you're ready to package, I get a little bit of whatever topical that you've made and put it on the end of your spatula. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to hold it at an angle and scrape it into our pot like that, okay? Now that's not at the bottom, so what we're going to do is we're going to tap it down. I'm going to shake my camera a little bit. Sorry, guys. Okay, so there's that. And we're just going to do that in additions, trying to keep it as clean as possible. Okay. And I just want to get to a point where, for your assessment, I want it where you can be comfortable getting that pharmaceutically elegant finish. We're going to go for our Dairy Queen swirl. I would love to go for a dipped cone right now, but I can't. Social isolation. Okay, so there it is full. You'll notice that I still have some product on my ointment pad. If this was a compound that I was making for a patient and I was in a pharmacy and had a lab, I would need to get a bigger ointment pot, preferably to get it all into one container. But for your assessment, I'm not worried about it. I just want to see that you've got it full here, okay? And then what we're going to try and do is make it so it looks, you know, Sephora ready, Sephora pretty. You know, that pharmaceutically elegant. We open it up and it looks nice, okay? So what I'm going to do right now, because I do just want a clean work surface, I'm just going to move my ointment pad off to the side so that you can still see what I'm doing. Okay. Now we've got our ointment pot, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just turn it to the side so I can show you. The ideal here is that we kind of have our spatula at a 45-degree angle, and we're just going to kind of go in the top here. So this is what I'm doing. I'm going to flip it this way so I can actually do it, but I've got it at a 45-degree angle right against the edge, and I'm just kind of going to turn my pot and kind of scrape down the sides and pull them to the middle while I'm turning it. Okay. So just kind of smooth it all out, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to pull it up to the middle and pick it up. Okay, so I'm going to lose some product on my spatula, but then I'm going to get this Dairy Queen swirl in our ointment pot, which is just a really nice way to finish a product. And then the last step, when you're doing this at home, please have some paper towel or a Kleenex right next to you so you can clean off the edges. I didn't grab one of those before I came in to do this video. I'm going to do that. Okay, so I'm back. I've got my paper towel. Now what we're gonna do is just clean up our product. So I'm just gonna wipe down all the threads here and the outside of my product so it's not greasy. So for your assessment, I will make a list of the things that you need to have at your station, so that you've got all your supplies there for you when you need them making your video. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I folded my paper towel so I kind of get a bit of a corner or a stiff edge. And I'm just going to clean down just the very inside of my ointment pot, just so it's very pretty. I will say, for those of you who handed a compound in during our last lab in person, most of your products were phenomenally packaged. So beautiful. I was so proud. So just do it like that when you do your video, and you're going to be good to go. Okay, so that's our completed product. We've got our little swirl there. It's kind of hard to see in the video. Kind of looks like that. You're going to put your lid on. And then in your kit there is a label. I don't need you to label your product for this assessment. I want you to fill out your label as you would, but just upload that with your documentation, okay? If we were in lab and this was going to a patient, or if this was going to a patient, we would of course label our product. But that's basically what I'm going to be looking for your assessment. It should look pretty much exactly like that when you're finished. Just show me your finished product, you know, and then wipe down your station when you're complete, and I'm going to be very, very happy with that. If you have any questions, please let me know. Yeah, thanks guys.